Hey guys, Franchise here with Franchise80s.com. Thanks once again for joining me on another one of my videos. Today's video is going to be about a toy lot that I found while I was out with my family this weekend. We were at a local swap meet, and I came across someone who was selling a lot of G.I. Joe vehicles, vintage G.I. Joe vehicles from the 1980s. So I made him an offer and I bought the whole lot. And I just wanted to share them with you real quick here before I throw them on my eBay page at franchise80s.com. And so let me start off by showing you. I'm going to go from oldest to newest. So I'm going to start off with the Vamp Jeep here. It's from 1982, made by Hasbro. Pretty cool vehicle. So the second one here is, this is called HAL, and it stands for Heavy Artillery Laser. This is also from 1982. And then this one here is from 1985. This one is the Armadillo, the mini Armadillo tank. Now, I would consider myself an expert in 80s toys. I am, always doing my research on them and stuff like that. But there's so much stuff that G.I. Joe has. I mean, I'm not a complete expert on G.I. Joe, so I had to look these up, when I did my research on them. And I use the internet a lot to do my research, but I also use, I'm just going to show you guys real quick, some great tools. I use this book right here, called The Ultimate Guide to G.I. Joe, and it's made by Mark Bellomo. So this book by Mark Bellomo is pretty much the holy grail of G.I. Joe books. It is it's pretty valuable in its own right. It's a collectible just as it stands as a book. It goes for anywhere between $80 to $150 on eBay, and it's great to identify. You say you get something, like the vehicles I got. You just look through the years. It goes year by year, and you open it up, and boom, there you go. You can identify some of the vehicles. So let me show you the rest of the vehicles I found. I showed you these three: the Jeep, the Vamp Jeep, the Armadillo tank, right, and the Heavy Artillery Laser Cannon, right. So the other one I got was from 1988. Slaughter's Marauders Equalizer. Sergeant Slaughter's, one of Sergeant Slaughter's vehicles here. This thing's pretty cool. I love how they still have the stickers. This thing's over 30 years old and, still has the stickers. That's pretty crazy. And last but not least, 1989 release of the Avalanche. So I'm going to put a link in the description below for each one of these vehicles as soon as I list them on my Franchise Auctions eBay store, as you can see right there on the right of the screen. Also, I want to remind everyone that I also have a second eBay store called Franchise Elite, and that's where I put some of my more expensive items on that website, featuring the franchise collection. So another thing I wanted to show you, I didn't pick this up this weekend, but since we're on G.I. Joe, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about G.I. Joe. So if you grew up in the 80s like me and you collected action figures, G.I. Joe was well, probably the biggest action figure toy line they had at the time. And so they're really cool. They had on the card, they had this really cool little file on the character, which you could cut out and stuff. And I kept a lot of my files, as you can see right here, for a bunch of the action figures that I have loose. So just going to share with you a couple of them and stuff. Alright, so here's William the Refrigerator Perry. William Perry was a famous football player, played for the Chicago Bears back in the 1980s. He was real popular there for a while. They called him the Fridge, and his name's William Perry. And he was actually also made an appearance at WrestleMania 2, I believe, as part of the Battle Royal. He was actually in the Battle Royal for WrestleMania 2 because he was so overwhelmingly popular. The Battle Royal was pitted football versus wrestlers, and William Perry was in there. The cool thing about G.I. Joe is that they incorporated a lot of different characters from different avenues of life, like sports and then WWE entertainment. You know, William Perry is a football player, and he's also a G.I. Joe. They also had Sergeant Slaughter, who was a very famous wrestler back in the 70s and 80s, and he's also a G.I. Joe as well. He's as part of the cartoon. He plays a drill sergeant. And the William Refrigerator Perry and Sergeant Slaughter, they were both mail-away figures. Mail-away figures were a really big thing back in the 80s. I'm going to do a whole video on my mail-away figures and stuff, so I'll talk to you guys more about that in another video. But the mail-in figures were cool because what you would do is you'd buy the action figures in the store, and then on the back it would have a little coupon that you could cut out, and or sometimes inside the instructions was a little coupon, and you'd write your name on it and everything, and then cut the proofs of purchase out off of the back of the card, and you would send it away with money for shipping and handling, and about 6 months later you'd get that action figure that they promised you for free. I got Sergeant Slaughter and William the Refrigerator Perry, and I actually have my original figures. And then as I became an adult collector, I went on eBay and I found the actual little coupons that I mailed away to get them, and I purchased them, and I have them with the figures. So I'm going to show you those next time I do a video on mail away figures. And also there's typically there's 3 ways to collect action figures. So one of them is a huge group of people who collect loose figures. So there's the ones that are opened up, and then they usually put them in a nice little display case and put them in in a display, just kind of like I do. And then there's collectors who want them in the package, and you can have a mint. It's called mint on card because the package usually for an action figure is a card. As you can see here, it's just a card with a plastic blister case on it, on the card. And so when it's mint condition, it's usually called mint on card. And then the third way to collect these action figures are the more high-end collectors. They prefer it to be graded. So they want it in the package, but they want it as close to pristine as possible package. So they pay a fairly large sum of money to get them professionally graded. And one of the for the toy industry, the most reputable company out there is AFA. And you can get the AFA grading done through toygrader.com. And this one here is done by toygrader.com, and it's an AFA graded an 8.0. And so it goes up to 10. So, and it's very, 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 very difficult to get a 9.5 or a 10 because they're very, very meticulous in their process to check the card. I mean, the actual card has to be just pretty much perfect to have a 10. You know, they look at it through a microscope and a high-powered lens, and they go through it very detailed. They also make sure that the printing on the artwork on the card has to be centered and just perfect. I mean, even if there's a little bit of a mishap in the factory when they make it, it won't necessarily be a 10. So their standards are really high for grading. So that's why collectors will pay an obscene amount of money for really high grades. I mean, this figure is worth about, if this figure wasn't graded, it would have a value of about, I would say, $25 to $30. But being graded, the value is about $125 to $150. And if it were graded a 10, the value could go up to be $400 or $500. So grading makes a really big difference. Also, it provides authentication. People who have it graded know that the figure is original, and it's not a fake or a bootleg or a custom figure. And there's a lot of those type of figures out there. So that's a really cool way to ensure that what you have is legitimate. So, well, that concludes the video, and I want to thank everybody once again. I really appreciate everyone who likes and subscribes and watches my videos. I recently reached over 600 subscribers, so I'm pretty excited. I'm really happy that my YouTube channel is growing, and I want to continue to bring content on here that's interesting. And if you love the 80s and you love toys and you love collecting and you love shows like American Picker, Toy Hunter, Pawn Stars, all those shows that a lot of them we don't even get to see anymore because they're not on the air. We just get reruns and stuff. But there's new ones coming out all the time, and if you love shows like that, you're gonna love my channel because those shows inspire me. It's pretty much what I do all day as I go toy hunting. Please remember to like and subscribe, and check out my eBay store, franchiseauctions.com. And remember that everything that I talk about here on this video, I'm going to be having links in the description below. And so check it out, and I will see you guys next time on another one of my videos.
Stay with me! I'm on you like glue! All right!
Hi, guys. Can I skate with you?
Nah, you're just a girl.
No kidding.
Go-ho!
Let her try. You might be surprised.
Okay, but
Thanks.
wow, look at that!
Don't judge people till you give them a chance.
Because there's a chance you could be wrong. Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!